So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another Black Ops 3 Zombies video, and today, now we have revelations, we have the trailer, we have the teaser, the cutscene. We can finally start to break things down and start to make sense of our zombie storyline. Remember, Jason Blundell says that revelations is going to conclude everything, bring everything into this one whole, I don't know what you'd call it, this knot. Just revelations is going to bring all the loose ends of the zombie storyline together. And the teaser trailer, the cutscene, the intro they have already given us, we can now start to tie things in already. And one of the main things that makes a lot more sense now is the Origins ending. The ending that confused us all. At first we all thought this was the two children, Samantha and Eddie. We were playing a game inside of their heads. Sooner in Shadows of Evil we found out that wasn't quite true, but still, up until now, things in this cutscene have been a mystery, and today, hopefully I'm going to help you guys understand it and explain it. As always, leave a like rating before the video because you know what, I trust you guys, you are not going to regret it. Anyway, thank you for that. Let's get straight into the content. So first off, we'll take a look at the ending for Origins, just to give you guys an idea of what it was all about.
From that day forward, they knew that Samantha would keep them safe. Forever.
Getting everything wrong. I told you before their eyes should be blue.
It's my turn, Eddie. I can do whatever I want.
But you don't even know how to play properly. Girls don't know enough about zombies.
What's the choice of it, children? Make sure the windows are locked before you come down to the basement.
You'd better do what your dad says. I didn't even get my turn.
Tomorrow, Eddie. You get to make the rules. I promise. Come on, Fluffy.
I wish the heroes in our stories were real, Sam.
I know what you mean. But we will make everything okay. My dad says he has a plan.
So as I said, when we first saw this was extremely confusing, and as we've gone on through the zombie storyline, some things about this, even though we've tried to link them up, haven't made sense. I also want to mention I found this in the COD Zombies forum, so I'm going to link it down in the description. Someone has wrote out their theory, or what they think about this, and I just want to elaborate on it and give you my version of the Origins storyline, or the Origins Easter egg ending finally broken down and fully explained. So anyway, here we go. So in the cutscene, we see the two children in the house. We know these children are Samantha and Eddie. Samantha obviously is Maxis' daughter, but Eddie is a child version of Richtofen. Now we also know in the house at the point of revelations, we also have Takeo, Dempsey and Nikolai in their child forms. So altogether we have 5 children, where in the house they were supposed to be safe. But we don't see the other children in the house just yet. Their souls at this point in time haven't been given to Maxis. The cutscene seems to take place sometime between the end of Origins and the start of the Giant. So as I said, at the time as to when this cutscene was shown to us, no one really knew what it was about. No one really knew who Eddie was. Was he Edward Richtofen in his child form? Some people said that it was Richtofen's son. Some people said that Eddie wasn't related to Richtofen at all. Also, what was the siren going off in the background? Why were the children called down to the basement to Maxis? These were all questions that were open. And even as we've gone on through our zombie storyline, we've gathered more information, we really haven't gained too much more about this cutscene. Up until now, this really has been a mystery, and as I said, the revelations intro cutscene we saw just the other day pretty much finally explained what's going on in the Origins cutscene. Now before we get into it, I just want to say I first saw this or an explanation similar over on the Reddit forums, and I've kind of changed it and put my version of it on what I really think is going on in the cutscene. So if you want to check that out, I will link it in the description. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Enjoy. So I believe that the Origins cutscene takes place not long after Origins finishes. As soon as we complete the Easter egg, after we send Maxis up to our Gotha through the portal in the Maxis drone, I believe this cutscene takes place sometime between the end of Origins and the start of the Giant. I would say more than likely no longer a few months after the end of Origins. So we see our two children in the house, Samantha and Eddie. We know that Eddie is a child version of Richtofen, but we also learn from the Revelations cutscene that there are other children in the house, but at this point in time, as to when you see in the cutscene, they are not yet in existence. These other children will later become Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, also as children in the house, but at this point it is only Samantha and Edward that exist. As we learn from a cipher in Dear Eyes and Dracker, Eddie has only recently been introduced to Samantha. Maxis has brought him to the house to be friends. We know Maxis has created Richtofen in this child form as part of a bigger plan which would later become revealed. So we see the children as children would, playing with toys. It just so happens that they are playing a game of zombies, which I don't think has any real relation to the storyline on what they're playing. I mean, Samantha's dad is a scientist of Group 935. He is part of a group which experiments on zombies, so these children, especially Samantha being his daughter, would more than likely be influenced by that, and that could be a reason as to why they are playing games like this, but I don't think there's any real reason behind it. Anyway, so as you see, the children are in Maxis' house, and then suddenly you hear a siren go off in the background.
Girls don't know enough about zombies.
What's the choice of age, children? Make sure the windows are locked before you come down to the basement.
So far, so good. But things started to go wrong soon after you arrived. Now, I can understand your initial shock coming face to face with Maxis.
Now in the Revelations cutscene, we also see the siren go off, but straight after this you see Maxis is in the basement, ready to greet our 4 characters that are entering the house through the teleporter, which tells us that the siren goes off when someone enters the house. It seems when someone is near or entering the house, that is when the siren goes off, to warn Maxis that someone or something is coming. Or in this case, just as the siren goes off, you see our characters enter the house through the teleporter, which explains why we hear the siren in the Origins cutscene. It's because someone is about to enter the house. And as we see, as soon as Maxis hears the siren go off, he goes down to the basement ready to greet our characters. And that explains the siren in the Origins ending. You hear it go off and Maxis tells the children to shut the windows and then come down to the basement. This is because someone is about to enter the house through the teleporter. He's telling the children to come down to the basement because, as we see in the Revelations intro, that's where the teleporter is located. So if we have the siren going off, if Maxis is telling the children to come down to the basement, then someone is about to enter the house. I believe for reasons this person entering the house in the Origins ending could be Richtofen. Now, also reasons as to why it could be someone else, which we'll explain in just a second, but as we progress through the ending, Eddie says, "I didn't even get my turn." Then, as the children are going down to the basement to Maxis, Eddie says, "I wish the children in our stories were real, Sam." And Samantha says, "I know what you mean, but we will make everything okay." My dad says he has a plan, and this plan that Samantha is talking about is the one that we've been doing all through Black Ops 3. Remember that this cutscene takes place just after the Origins ending, and Maxis came up with his plan to make a perfect universe and to have all of our children in the house. Also, not long after Origins, he came up with the plan along with Monty and Richtofen to kill all of the O1 characters, collect their souls, and then send them to the house to be safe in this perfect universe. And that is the plan of Maxis's that Samantha speaks of. When she says, "Don't worry, my dad says he has a plan," she is talking about the plan to make a perfect universe where all of these children, or in this case the heroes in their stories, who are Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey and Richtofen, to grow up in the house. That pretty much now fully explains what's going on in the Origins ending. A few things that I still can't tell you is, first off, how Richtofen is already in the house as a child before his soul is being collected in the giant. The only reason I could think of as to why that is must be because somehow, without us seeing, Maxis must have already gotten Richtofen's soul. When exactly that was, we don't know. The other small problem I have is I also said that the siren going off tells us that someone is about to enter the house through the teleporter. Now, the person that this could have been was Richtofen, although he doesn't specifically say, but Dr. Monty tells us at the end of Gorod Karovi that Richtofen has been in the house for ages, but shh, don't tell him, he's not supposed to know. Surely if Richtofen would have already been to the house to visit Maxis, then wouldn't he already know about himself being in the house as a child? If Maxis has called the children down to the basement to meet Richtofen as he's about to enter through the teleporter, then surely he'd already know about himself as a child, which would mean Monty wouldn't need to keep it a secret as he tries to in the Gorod Karovi ending. I mean, we don't know for sure if it was Richtofen that was entering the house. It could have been someone else. I can't see it being Monty as he's this all-powerful god. He has the power to change things, so I can't see him entering a teleporter. But then again, maybe the siren doesn't just tell you that someone is entering the house through the teleporter, it just tells you overall that someone is near, someone is about to come into the house. And as we know, it was around this point that Dr. Monty became involved with our storyline. As soon as we opened the portal in Origins, Dr. Monty then started to intervene. In his Setsubo no Shima radio, Dr. Maxis tells us that the siren has not sounded for many months. If the siren in the house hasn't sounded for many months, then clearly someone or something hasn't come near or entered the house. At the end of this radio, Maxis also tells us, is this the end or a new beginning? Showing us that he's surprised. Maxis is surprised that the siren hasn't sounded for many months. By the sounds of this, Maxis almost expected someone or something to come to the house, but he says they haven't. It hasn't sounded in several months. If we know the siren tells us someone is about to come to the house, then clearly Maxis was expecting someone or something. It wouldn't have been Richtofen, as right now at this point he is in Setsubo no Shima. He is on his mission to collect Takio's soul, so something else must have been coming to the house. The only thing I could think of is maybe the apothecans, maybe the zombies. It seems like Maxis was expecting something to enter the house. In my opinion, I wouldn't expect to see a zombie or an apothecan or an enemy of some type enter a teleporter, which to me shows that the siren doesn't just sound for the teleporter, it sounds for other things as well. And then going back to what I said about Origins, if that's the case, then the siren could have been going off for Dr. Monty. Maybe it was to tell him that Monty was about to enter, that he was about to fix things and put everything right. And the thing you could say about that is Samantha just said, my dad says he has a plan, and we know the plan was to collect the souls, and we know Maxis didn't come up with that plan until Monty intervened. So we still have a load of things, although the basics of this are now explained. And one more thing you could say, so maybe Richtofen's actually been to the house before this cutscene. We don't exactly know the specific date as to when the cutscene takes place. All we know is it can't be too far after Origins, and we don't know 100% what took place after Origins with our characters. We know that they went missing for 2 years. Richtofen went missing, went searching out the locations of these specific characters and learning information from the Konorium. But to learn from the Konorium, he first had to learn that it existed, and he learnt about that from Maxis. We saw in the Origins ending, we'd already sent Maxis through the portal to Agatha to the house, so the only way for Richtofen to speak to him about the plan that they came up with would have been for him to actually go to the house himself. He would have needed to go to the house to talk to Maxis about this plan to make a perfect universe. Hence why we hear the siren going off, because he's about to enter. But maybe he'd actually been there before this cutscene, which could explain the reason as to why he's already a child in this cutscene, even though we don't see his soul being taken. It seems like every character that enters Agatha, enters a portal to this house, gets turned into a child, which must mean Richtofen has been here before the cutscene. So there are a load of things to actually put together. Let me give you an overview, just a shortened down version, a 1 minute version of the Origins ending, and fully explain it. If you think the videos deserved a like rating, if you could do that now if you haven't already, that'd mean an awful lot to me. But anyway, here we go. So as we see at the end of the Origins Easter egg, Maxis goes through the portal to his daughter Samantha. We know Maxis died in Origins. His body was left at the excavation site. The only thing that went through the portal was his brain in a drone. And the only thing that went through the portal was his brain in a drone, who had been watching over them for many years. He saw that the portal had been opened in France. He then knew that the characters, although we didn't know it, had messed up big time, and Dr. Monty now had to get involved. And so what he did was took Maxis's brain out of the drone, he took Samantha and put them both in the house. He put Maxis's brain in a physical body. As he says in the Revelations cutscene, he didn't get a soul, so Monty couldn't give Maxis a soul. So now we have both of these characters in the house. It seems like Dr. Monty, knowing they'd fucked up, now came to the house, came to the door of Dr. Maxis and said, Luke, you've messed up big time. There's no way you can fix this on your own, but I can help you. Dr. Monty gave Maxis an offer he could not refuse. Monty then took Samantha's and did something with her. What? We don't know. But then months later, took her back to the house. At the house, Monty and Maxis came up with a plan to create a perfect universe that consisted of all of our zombies characters, Takio, Nikolai, Dempsey, and Richtofen, as children, so they could grow up and live in this house, free of all the corruption that other versions had seen. Somewhere near this point, Richtofen travelled to the house to talk to Maxis about the plan. Maxis told him that he needs to collect a book called the Konorium, read it, study it, learn about teleportation without the aid of teleporters, and then you need to go out, kill the 01 version of your characters, collect their souls, and then bring them to me. So that's exactly what Richtofen did. He went out, stood the Canorium, got the summoning key, killed our characters, collected the souls, gave them back to Maxis, he took the souls up, turned them into children, and that's what we see in the cutscene. So there we go, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Leave a like rating if you have enjoyed. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you, and goodbye.